evening, family, and welcome. I bring greetings from the Ashé Cultural Arts Center. My name is Frederick Wood Delahousie, and it is my pleasure to serve as Chief Creative Officer and Artistic Director here at Ashé. I can be referred to in conversation by Wood or by pronouns he and him. I'm a light-skinned, honey butter brown black warrior poet from New Orleans with brown eyes and thick eyebrows. And what some folks might call a goatee, I tend to think of as a pharaoh's mane. And it is my pleasure to welcome you this evening. So through this work tonight, we hope to give thanks, honor, and elevate the power of the Black feminine in all its splendor, strength, and sacrifice. And before we begin tonight's presentation, I'd like to offer a land acknowledgement in an effort to create greater public consciousness of Native sovereignty and cultural rights, and as a small step toward equitable relationships and reconciliations. The land currently known as New Orleans is situated right in the region known as Bobancha. It's a Choctaw term known as the place of many tongues. And prior to 1718, it was an important trading hub for more than 40 indigenous populations. So tonight, we welcome everyone in attendance to learn with us about the Native and indigenous peoples, histories, and present-day communities in Louisiana. So Angela Davis once wrote, right, that Black women have had to develop a larger vision of our society, perhaps in any other group. They have to understand white men, white women, and Black men. And they have to understand themselves. When Black women win victories, it is a boost for every segment of society. While our communities and our world really continues to be filled with both bias and unconscious bias, Black women continue to be the foundation of our existence, and they continue to showcase the courage to guide others through adversity and continue to keep our skies from falling, as my Baba Doug often said. Yes. Tonight's conversation is entitled Sister Share, Black Mamas and Birth. It is an intimate conversation featuring Black mothers, doulas, birth advocates, and other experts to amplify the issues of Black maternal health in America. So I want to give thanks to all of you in attendance, but also give thanks to these phenomenal women who I'm going to bring to the stage right now. So please welcome our facilitator for this evening, the incomparable Sister Sunni Patterson.
Hello, hello, hello.
All right, Sister Sunni, I will turn it over to you and these phenomenal sisters, and I bid you good evening.
Thank you. Look, but show everyone your shirt. I was about to say, show everyone your shirt.
Oh, my shirt says inspired by Black.
You should have started with that.
Okay. As everyone in the world. So I'm Sunni Patterson. For our family that will be joining us. It's something because we are recording this now. By the time you see, this is what happens when we are these type of time travelers. We're recording now for the future, right? So by the time you see this, it will be Thursday. So we want to give thanks for the time that we have now and the time in between. But first, I also want to introduce my dear sisters and friends and co-workers and co-conspirators even. And co-creators, co-workers, co-conspirators, co-creators, all of those things as we're doing this work in the world. First, I want to introduce our dear sister, Dr. Takeisha Charles Davis, who is the president and CEO of the president and CEO of New Orleans East Hospital. And mother of one, but we're saying mother of one that came from your body. But the wonder of the work that you do is that you really are mother to a whole bunch. Mother to a whole bunch, huh? And then we have with us Jamie Berry. What is one? Doula Berry, Berry Doula, Doula Berry, Doula Berry. Oh, there we go, Doula Berry. So we have our community health workers with Ashé. And then we have, and I'll kind of go into more about what a community health worker is and everything, and just the partnership as well with Ashé and New Orleans East Hospital, and just the magnificent kind of work. But first, just the magnificent thought of what that collaboration brought up and what came together from that, right? And then Monica, are you Millon? Can we?
That's great. Millon.
Okay. Monica Millon,
yes.
Who is also a community health worker, mother of two. I'm sorry. Jamie is also a mother to one, but of course, as a doula, every child that you assist is yours as well, right? And then Monica, mother of two, and also a fantastic, would you say beautician, or what's a word that you would use?
Yes, we're gonna go with the old school
Old
beautician.
school old
Yeah.
school beautician. Yeah, I
Yes.
said that in another to someone else, and I almost got my head chopped off. So
Hairstylist,
beautician,
magician,
Okay.
literally, is what it is.
Joy
So as everybody can see and hear, this is a pretty easy conversation. I would desire is to speak about these kind of hard and harsh realities that we face as Black women um, in the world, and the reality is that if we're facing it as Black women, that truly means that our families are facing it, our children are facing it, our men are facing it. It means that everybody is facing it. There's a proverb. It says that when the hearts of the women and the children are in the street, we have lost a war. Um, so we have some stats that kind of show that we are in this space where where our hearts, not just even our hearts, our minds, our wombs are literally in the streets. So even though we have these harsh realities, and we will hear these stories, and really we want to amplify, right, all of these stats and everything that comes up. The other key to this is in the midst is to make sure that we are also speaking about the joy in the justice. We're speaking about the celebration that has to come. We're speaking about the wonder and magnificence of bodies, the way that just to think about this, the fact that we wake up and things just start working. We don't even plug the liver in.
Right.
We don't plug the heart in. We didn't plug our eyelids. Well, I can't say that because some people we be plugging.
Sometimes
But yeah. But we didn't plug these things in, right? And say, okay, start working, right? But these things work. They're working on our behalf without us sometimes even saying thank you, especially in a time like this. We're not quite out of these woods, of course, with COVID and everything else. And it's times we get up and we just really need to say, you know what, respiratory system, you've really been working it out this season. You're doing your thing, right? So these are things that we want to consider with this kind of work, and why it's important. Just even going back to that, the magnificence of what it means to bring forth another human from a space that ain't, from a little from a little space like this. Then we got this big, yes. So it's this yes, this is magnificent work that we are stretched into. There's another quote, right, that says, during birth, a woman is in between two worlds, right? So we're looking at and standing in between this door of death and this door of life. And this is some real kind of work. So Dr. Davis, I want to bring you in as well to just speak about, as broad and as general as this is, with this work that you do at the hospitals, right? And just even some work of bringing doctors and minds together, right? To do this. This is a task in and of itself, right? So what is it that you see? And I know this is a very general question, but what is it that you see at the hospital, right, as it pertains to Black mothers? And I also want to say this when we're talking about Black mothers, because I've had conversations, and people are like, well, why does it just have to be, Black mothers are not the only mothers that's suffering, that's going through this thing. So it's not that we are not considering any other mother. What we are doing, though, is centering Black mamas in this conversation, because there's a very clear crisis when it comes down to Black maternal health. And also, this is Black Maternity Health Week. Huh? So we want to be very clear and on point, with that. So tell us something just about what is it that what you see when it comes down to Black mamas in the hospital, from everything from just the health to healthcare? What do we see about insurance? All of these kind of things. Again, I know this is a broad question, but from whatever space you can approach it, just let us know.
And it is, as you said, a crisis, right? It's a battle that we are in, and this is Black Maternal Health Week. So we do want to start from a place of reminding everybody what we all know personally, that being able to bring forth life, right, is one of the most beautiful blessings any mother can have. And the fact that mothers in the United States are dying at rates 4 to 5 times that of other developed countries is a crisis. But we are centered and focused intentionally on Black mothers because unfortunately, we are at the center of the crisis. So no matter where you look, no matter where you live, right? Because people try to say that those differences in health disparities are differences in care, differences in outcomes have to do with poverty and socioeconomic status, or geographic differences, or your lack of access to care. Even when you take the health out of wealth, because wealth normally does follow health, right? Even when you look equally amongst Black women who make the same amount of money, and that could be, in the hundreds of thousands, we still are dying at 4 times the rate of our white counterparts. So we have to get real about the fact that what we see in the hospitals with Black women dying at 4 times the rate when they are trying to bring forth one of these most beautiful experiences, that this is a crisis. And we have to talk about the fact that, yes, there are many reasons we have more underlying conditions when we enter into pregnancy that put us at higher risk. Those underlying conditions are related to the underlying social determinants of health, right? The economic instability, our lack of having access to quality education, quality jobs, etc. But we cannot turn away from the fact that there is a true racial bias in the healthcare system. That as a Black woman who is a physician, 15 and a half years ago, Lord, I'm getting real old, when I was
getting better. You're getting better. You're getting better.
Getting
good.
Seasoning on it. When I was pregnant with my son, and I am a Harvard and Johns Hopkins trained physician, but I was a pregnant woman, Black woman, who went into preterm labor. When I went in to the hospital, I was told that what I thought might be amniotic fluid, that I had ruptured my amniotic sac, that it wasn't. I should go home. I wasn't having contractions. You're just being overly concerned because you know more than most.
You know too much.
Medicine. You know too much. Right. So you're thinking all the worst things. You just had an accident on yourself, right? They tell us that. It was urine. And so I didn't do what I now really strive to advocate to my patients. And the reason why I'm so excited about our community health workers is to advocate for myself. Right. So I listened to that other physician who I thought was supposed to have my best interests at heart. And I went home, woke up the next morning contracting. Right. So not fully in labor. And we can't stop that at 32 weeks. I ended up having my son at 32 weeks, 6 days. He was in the neonatal ICU for 3 weeks. And the trauma of having to go home from the hospital without your child is significant, because that's not the birth story that we all envision. Right. We envision our baby being put to breast right away. We're getting to go home with him or her and begin that nurturing process. And what I've learned as I started to dig deeper into this from a personal standpoint, that I had so many sisters who had gone through similar experiences. But we don't talk about those experiences because we feel like maybe there was something I did wrong. Right. That I should have advocated for myself. I should have done more, instead of thinking about the systems that we're put into and how we need to help each other. So the work that we're doing at New Orleans East Hospital, when we see women coming in who are pregnant, particularly Black women. The majority of the women we see are Black. That we teach them to advocate for themselves. You know your body, right? And we see what has happened nationally, right, with Serena Williams. It didn't matter that she was a international superstar, right? But nobody was listening. So if you feel like that physician isn't listening, then you need to go find another physician. It's okay to go get a second opinion.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. If you know your body and know something is wrong, and we're afraid sometimes to do that. And we share with them the statistics, because while African American women are 4 times as likely to die than our white counterparts, right? We are also 4 times as likely to enter into that pregnancy without having treated our underlying conditions. So as providers, we are looking at that interconceptional care, right? So think about it. When we're pregnant, no matter what your socioeconomic status or what job you have, you get a Medicaid card, right? And you're now able to have a different access during that 9-month period to having your health care taken care of.
Yeah.
But once you deliver the baby as a mom, you get dropped from the rolls. So if you developed gestational diabetes, if you have preeclampsia or hypertension during pregnancy, if you had preterm labor, as I did, that all puts you at 2 to 3 times increased risk of having cardiovascular disease in the future. The number one cause of death in Black women is cardiovascular disease, but we don't take care of it in between. So our charge at New Orleans East Hospital and Mission is to provide well care, not just sick care. So we are excited about being able to partner with Ashé to have community health workers, right? That we're not talking about just the bad outcomes, but community health workers mean our neighbors, our friends, our church members, our leaders, our voices in the community, learning and helping us teach how we become healthy, right? Because there is a real reason why us as Black people have a mistrust and distrust of the healthcare system. We can go back to the Tuskegee experiment and the Henrietta Lacks cells and COVID-19 as to why we have this distrust and mistrust. But we deserve to experience this birth experience in a way that is joyous and not painful. In a way that we don't have to have anxiety about having a second pregnancy. Right?
Honey, where's the organ? Where's the tambourine? Where's the tambourine?
Where goes the Black mother, goes our families.
Yes.
We bring life, right? So we deserve to have healthcare providers that look like us, that treat us with respect and have cultural humility. So we have been teaching now our providers and physicians the difference between cultural competency and cultural humility. Cultural competency, many people feel like it's something you get a certificate in, right? I learned what Black people like, how they talk, all those things, and now I'm competent.
Yes.
You ain't competent in nothing. You have to look at this as a lifelong experience. I'm still learning, right, every day. And all of us are not the same. We are unique, every single one of us, in the way in which we experience our lived experience. So it's important for our providers to understand you have to listen and have the transparency to say to a patient when you don't understand something is going on. We don't, as patients, expect you to know everything. You human just like me, right? You got taught a skill set for a particular period of time, but that doesn't mean that you know everything, right? So be able to listen in a respectful way, have self-reflection and critique is the cultural humility, so that you can have an exchange, right, between you and the patient about what is best for them, not patriarchal way of medicine. So I think the community health workers are a part of our solution to help to break down those barriers and help us navigate, right, the healthcare system for our Black mothers, particularly and thinking about the help that they should have and deserve to have as they enter into pregnancy, after pregnancy, so that they can make real decisions about how they want to grow their families or lack thereof, that it's not forced upon them by bad experiences in the healthcare system.
Yeah.
The last thing that I will say, and then I want to hear from the community health workers as well, is that in our healthcare system, right, we know that even community health workers are not respected.
Yeah.
Right. So in the traditional healthcare model, it is that we have a hospital, you have doctors and nurses, you have this hierarchy, right, of how training should occur.
Yeah.
I would love to hear from you all as you are talking and embracing health and wellness with our community members. From your perspective, how we break down those barriers, right? How do we make sure that the voice of the community health worker is valued in this process? Because you are going to, and doulas are similar, right? There is this push and pull with the traditional healthcare system about the value, right, of having what is considered non-traditional, but a more holistic approach to pregnancy. We have to break down those barriers to give our mother a fighting chance, right, to not be dying at 4 times the rate, so that if I am a young 20-something-year-old mom, a woman who is expecting, I know that these options exist, and not only are they just as good, but maybe better for my circumstance in having a good health outcome.
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Davis, can I
That's a tambourine, honey. That's a tambourine.
I know you serve New Orleans Hospital services a large population of Black and brown people. Is there a labor and delivery department?
No. So, I'm so glad you asked that question.
Okay.
So, New Orleans East Hospital does service over 90% of our population is Black and brown, right? And so African American and Vietnamese American in our community, and over 120,000 of our community members. When the hospital was rebuilt in 2014, after being closed for 9 years, we did not open up a labor and delivery service. But the hospital that was there for 30 years prior to Hurricane Katrina was one of the largest labor and delivery platforms in the city. It's where babies came from.
I was born there.
I was getting ready to say, most people you talk to either were born there or they had their kids there. So from the moment that I stepped into this role, I tell you no story. Everywhere I went, people asked me in New Orleans, when are y'all gonna start delivering babies? So as we started looking at the data, because we feel like we can provide a more holistic approach.
That was the question.
Experience, we started on this path to advocate for our community members bringing back that service. We finally last year were able to get the state legislature to commit to us $4.2 million of the 5. Don't clap too much yet. You know, it always, when it comes to us, it always comes with a little bit of a string.
Yeah.
So they committed the 4.2 million, but only 933,000 was real cash. Right. So they put it in a low priority. There are 5 priorities. 933 was in the highest priority. The remaining was in priority 5, which really meant it was only written on the books that they agreed based on the data that this was important. This year, we're in the middle of the current legislative session. And our elected officials, who I will say, you know, they always get highlighted when things are going wrong and they're not doing things to support our communities. They have been unanimous in fighting to get the rest of this money put in that priority 1 funding. So it is in the House bill, the budget bill right now, moved up to that priority 1 funding. But we can't wait on people to come and help us, right?
No.
We've learned this for centuries. That we are pushing forward. So we are moving forward with renovating our 5th floor. But the importance to me is, and I've said this over and over to our legislators as they help us fight for this, that we don't want to bring anything less than the best
Yes.
to our community. Nothing less. We deserve that on day one, we are the best, right?
Yes.
That our community members know when they choose us, that we're going to give them every chance at success.
Yes.
That means that we will have a varied staff, right? So we will have nurse practitioners and midwives, doulas associated with our program. So, you know, they had to, you know, internalize that.
Yeah.
What is that, Dr. Davis? What does that mean? He's talking about giving birth in a pool. What is that?
Yes.
We want to have a birthing center
Yes.
that is centered around wellness,
Yes.
right? It's different than coming in and having just your traditional mechanisms of giving birth available to patients.
Yes.
But it also means we're going to need to provide a lot of education
Around
to
it,
our community members about the benefits
Yes.
of
Yes.
these different efforts as well. So we're really excited about where we are at present. We right now have a business plan that looks to have us, if all things in God's time, that we will be delivering babies beginning of next year in New Orleans.
Hey, that's exciting.
So that's what we're pushing for. We're at a stage, as I said, now of really getting the commitments finally. It's been 6 years, right, in the making. Trying to get there. And then the next step really is going to be working with you all, right, and identifying who are the right people, because that's really important for us to have the right providers to start.
I want to take a second, Dr. Takeisha, and just affirm your role at the hospital, because only a Black woman would say, well, we don't have the labor and delivery unit yet, but what we're going to do right now is, you know, make sure that the people that are coming in here know that they deserve it and educate them on it and advocate for them, while we're also working on it behind the scenes. So thank you so much.
And listen, I take that appreciation, but I thank you for the work that you're doing. And it's important because you all know New Orleans East Hospital sits out in the east. The nearest acute care hospital or delivery platform is 25 minutes away at best by car. You don't have a car. It is 45 minutes away. So we were able to show the legislature that in the metropolitan area, if you live in New Orleans East and you are pregnant, I don't care what color you are. It can take you 3 times as long to get to a delivery platform. If I'm abrupting, if I'm having a complication,
you having that baby in the car.
Seconds matter.
Absolutely.
Seconds matter for life. So we were able to show them that's not acceptable. That is not acceptable, where we have 3 of the top 10 delivering zip codes in New Orleans East. We are populating our community. Right? So they deserve to have access to quality health care. Right? So we were able to show them that. And those moms come into our emergency department. I was able to show them how we've had to deliver moms in our emergency department because they can't get uptown. So, you know, that is unacceptable. And as with many things, right, we know that we deserve better. So I am elated, and I tell them, you know, I'm a little too old to birth my own babies there. However, a lot of my family come to New Orleans East Hospital for other services, and so I'm looking forward to us being able to grow our generations through that hospital.
It's back to the. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, Jamie, I do want to bring you in.
I want you to explain what a doula is to people.
Exactly, and that's what I'm wanting to make sure you get into. But I also want to, because you both have hit on those words. One word in particular that is a big part of our campaign as community health workers and our real call to action, which is this rallying kind of cry in this sense. But it is a simple statement of I deserve it. So this is something when we're talking about what really does this mean for someone, especially when we think about the life expectancy, right? You know how they say that, okay, it's between 15 and 25-year deficit, right? In like the life expectancy rate of Black New Orleanians and
Right.
wealthier white New Orleanians. And now with COVID, they're saying this is being pushed to
Yes.
30, right? 30 years. So this is something deep to know that we have these years in this way. But then also this is for us to look at really expectancy. That word is something so, it's a peculiar word to me, because it's like expectancy, but then it still goes to, it begs us to look at what really do I expect? And what do we expect, right, out of life? What do we expect from each other? What do I expect? So now it's also like, what really are my dreams? What really are my goals? As you know, as kind of again going back to that, I know it's kind of broad and general and things like this, but these are very real things that allow us to have a hope in life, that allow us to expect longer life, right? That allow us to not just to hope for something, but to expect something. Like we always say with doing this, being this kind of worker and everything, and dealing in the spiritual arts and everything in this way. But it really goes to, we don't get what we hope for, we get what we expect. So now we have to look at, what really do I expect, right? In this way. Speaking of expectation, huh? Yeah, this one comes with all the noise. Excuse me. This is how we organic conversation.
That's right.
Your mama. Your mama. I mean,
You're the nurturer.
However, y'all need to leave.
Like you
while she's running, I'll just go ahead. I'm gonna just jump in and
Yes.
talk
Yeah,
about
you go ahead
Go ahead.
and tell us yet again, not again, but tell us, what is a doula? Go into why, advocacy in that way is important, and then just tie that into the community health work, and how that really is what we are. We are true advocates for this work. You see what I'm saying? He talking about, he knows how to be quiet, and now he's singing, in fact. So go into more of who, of who you are.
behind you.
Keep it fresh. Keep it fresh. So a doula is a non-medical birth companion, somebody that nurtures, advocates, supports, and just assists mothers, families during their birthing journeys. For me, I became a doula because, for one, there's a major need for Black doulas because of the medical disparities that Black women experience. And I also just feel like, Dr. Takeisha, like what you were talking about earlier, a lot of the things with doctors, they don't know that they can say, no, I don't want to get this check. I don't want that shot. I don't want this. I want to do, this is my birthing plan. This is the way that I want it to happen. This is the experience that I want to have, because we're taught to just trust everything that they say. We don't know that our voice matters. And so I became a doula because I'm a natural nurturer and I'm a natural advocate and stuff like that. But I also just wanted to let Black women know that, like, this is your birthright.
Right.
This is something that you deserve, just because, not something that you have to do any prerequisites for or jump through any hoops for. This is the experience that you deserve to have. And also, I feel like having a doula, or being a doula, being part of the birthing experience, it sets a precedence on life, because you have these babies that are being born, that preconception, before they're even here, the mamas, daddies, families are already preparing for them in a way, and saying how they want it to happen, what they don't want to happen. And so it sets a precedence on life. All of this stuff, all these people came together to make this happen for me before I was even here. So I hope I answered your question, Sunny. But I also feel like, Dr. Takeisha, what you were saying, how CHWs and other medical professionals can make this work. One way I do it is just to let people know that, like, we're not competing. Like, I'm not I couldn't anyway. Even if I thought I was, I couldn't. I don't have the same training or whatever as you, but we're here to work together. It's one of the same things that you have to have sometimes the conversations with dads, because they feel like, well, what are you doing what I'm supposed to be doing? But no, I'm here to support you too, and what the family needs, and postpartum care, and if you need to get away on a baby moon before, let me help you. Let's do it the way our grandmothers did it. And bring some people in on this thing, and begin that it takes a village type feeling, to raise a child.
I love that. I love that. The comment about do it the way our grandmothers did, right? Because not everybody has that experience in their families, where the entire family comes to help to nurture mom, right? Through that journey, right? And for those of us who have had that, right, it does set a precedence for the way in which you continue to nurture your children throughout their life, and the expectation they have to be loved and nurtured that entire process. And so setting up that construct where it may not exist naturally because of lots of social ills that have targeted our families and the structures that are there. How do we get that message out about not being in competition, but part of that health spectrum of continuum, health, because you need help all in nurturing and love and support all along the way. And as a physician or a nurse in a clinic or a hospital, you're only seeing your patients intermittently, right? You're not there for that entire journey. And that's where I really see the benefits of the partnership.
Yeah. And a lot of situations, the baby comes out, they rushing to get the baby, they cleaning the baby, they doing, you know how they do it in Hollywood. But the doulas are there for the mother. We want to make sure mama's good, because after the fact, everybody, I ain't coming to see you, girl, I'm here for the baby. Or out, they want everybody wants the baby. And so the doulas are there specifically to help the mother, nurture the mother, keep her on track, because that,
Sunny,
the emotions are going crazy. And, the doctor, he said this was going to happen if I didn't do, just to kind of, like, Monica has been my person. She talks me off a ledge. Look, and I ain't even pregnant. So that's what the doulas are there for. And once you have somebody that has been there the whole time, you can come in and say, okay, nurse Monica, this is what's been going on with mom. She's been feeling this, just to kind of bridge the two together. So that you can have like my daddy used to say, I got a little bird watching you. So it is like you have somebody that's been there that knows the full kind of scope of what's going on.
And that's important work. Now, I do want to say this too, because it's quite often, I know this is, about Black mamas, but this is also stressing at the same time in this way the importance of fathers and why their presence is important. Why, yes, their presence, and what it is that they bring, because they too need with the child, a mother is born, a father is born, a grandmother is born. So in the see, especially with a grandparent, that's when people get, what, you ain't even act like that when I was little. What I said this out of you was all of these kind of things. But that's what we have to realize, that when we are giving birth, we are not just birthing this baby. We are birthing a lineage. We are birthing more grandparents. We're birthing fathers. We're birthing ourselves over and over again. So that's bringing me to this concept too. You mentioned this thing of preconception, right? So the beauty and wonder of this work again, I'm a proverb person, so I'm always proverb. But this, it goes to how a birth is not just when the mother is pregnant. The moment you conceive, the thought, pregnancy, the conception begins there. So this is when we start. So now, if we were, can you imagine if we were really developing and nurturing the environment of
the differences,
the environment of the child, that the environment of the child is not just once it comes out and it's at home, or wherever home is, right? But the environment, the mind of the mother, the womb of the mother, and what that means when we're talking about stress, why fathers are also important in this way. Important in this way, because now, daddy, are you stressing now? Are you causing some of this right? And then when we think about this aspect, we tend to talk about this often because we see high levels, of course, of chronic stress within our communities. But then we think about, why are we seeing these levels of chronic stress, disease, chronic this, chronic that, diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease, all of these kind of things. And we think about this aspect. This is what we're talking about, the justice around it all, right? We think about, what does it mean? Okay, so what does affordable housing have to do with chronic stress? What does affordable housing have to do with high cancer rates? What does clean air have to do with high cancer rates and cardiovascular disease and so forth and so on? What does this also mean for the blood flow to this child if this mother is under this kind of stress? What's being secreted in the blood as this child is nursing and so forth and so on? So these are things that play a real big part in the beauty and wonder of trained and training community health workers who, in our case, so many of us are artists. When it comes down to the community health workers with Ashé, we would always say, okay, well, we're a cohort of artists and culture bearers, and why that's important when it really goes to what it is that we can target as artists, right? What it means that we can target when it comes down to the language of the heart, when it comes down to a feeling, when it comes down to all of these, things that play a part when we're not always coming from a head space. But sometimes when we have to make decisions, we need to be able to feel that there is care there. We need to be able to feel valued in this way, right? So that we are able to birth our babies, birth new ideas, birth some justice in this world, right? So these are, important things when we're talking about this aspect of doulaship, because that really is at the same time what every community health work, I think, is. Spiritual midwives in this world.
I received my training with Nicole Deggins from Sister Midwife Productions.
Yes.
She says birth is a revolution. And absolutely. It is like, it's one, I really feel like that's where the change happens. Like, once we start getting into preconception and taking care of our bodies, planning to have the baby, and then making sure that your body is right, the home is right, and the things that aren't working to get it, everything ain't gonna be perfect, but just, readying yourself in the environment, and a baby is born without all of the trauma already from just being born, So
that's important work. That's bringing me to Monica. That's bringing us.
I was just gonna say that I like to look at like childbirth as like a portal opening.
Yeah,
it's such a big transformation, even spiritually, from a spiritual aspect, from the mother bringing birth, birthing a baby, and myself, I felt like I underwent, like I went under like this trance of like a complete transformation from the inside out. The way I had to change the way I thought about life, the way I thought about family, myself. It's such a sacrificial time. But also it's like a gift. You birthing this baby, you bringing this baby into the world, but it's a gift for you too. I like to look at my daughter, like my oldest daughter. I was so young, I was a teenage mother, and I was a single mother, and it's like she gave me, you know, and it sounds cliche, like something to live for, you know, so much purpose, such a deep understanding and of life, and just the magic of a mother. Like it's literally, I'm sorry, I get emotional over things like that.
That was
Like when
yeah,
you actually think about it. But I also was gonna say, like, as a hairstylist, the biggest disparity to me is the lack of knowledge and access to information. A lot of mothers, when they sit in my chair, that's my opportunity. So I always looked at myself as I look at myself as a community health worker before I became a community health worker. It's like I went right into the role because I get that one-on-one time with mom. Sometimes moms, after they have babies, I'm the first time they get outside the house, you know, just to do some self-care, mommy makeover, something to make them feel good about themselves, to take that little slot of time for themselves after they have a baby. And I try to plug in as much information. I'm telling them about breastfeeding, you know, little tricks and tools for breastfeeding, you know, telling them, like, advocating for taking as much time. So many mothers feel this rush to go back to work so soon. It's plugged into them that they shouldn't take time for themselves with their babies, and that they have to get back to work, and they're being something is wrong with being home, and, you know, slowing down the process of being home with their babies. And I try to take that time as much as I can to tell them, like, it's okay to be home with your baby. It's okay that you need healing time. Your body is undergoing healing. Your mind, you have hormones changing. You know, your baby needs you. You need this time. And then, you know, and then try to give them as many resources as I can. And that's what community health workers are. We are liaisons to these resources and this information, the bridge between the medical system, you know, healthcare, and the community, because who is greater to serve the community than someone actually in the community?
Absolutely.
So, like Sunni once said, and it was just profound to me, that she said, we don't work for the community, we work with the community.
Absolutely.
The community health worker, it's like we're holding hands. You know, we're just a bridge between this and that, you know, on the ground level. Because a lot of us also have the same issues for that the people that we're working for or with have.
It's what makes them comfortable enough to be vulnerable and open up.
They feel like we understand them, and without even saying it, they know we understand. You know, we're not some you know, this expert trying to give them advice or judgment, or it's non-biased
or make a sell.
You know, it's whatever. Just to be there to help, you know, and then it's a gift, because in return you receive so much more from helping other people than you could ever give to them. You know? So that's why I feel like the work is essential, especially right now.
I wanna read this real quick. This is from it's a proclamation, right, on Black Maternal Health Week, and these are, you know, from the White House. But this part in particular, it says a lot. It starts out with a lot. Pregnancy and childbirth should be a dignified, safe, and joyful experience for all. For far too many mothers, however, complications related to pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum can lead to devastating health outcomes, including hundreds of deaths each year. I want to stop here just in this case, because we were talking about, we spoke about the preconception, but it's quite often that we don't always talk about that fourth trimester, right?
That's when it starts, when the work starts.
That's when the real work starts.
Oh yes.
Right. You know, so this is important work, but this is also making me think about, yes, mothers are dying in 2022 in childbirth, but also the amount of babies, especially COVID. So we're doing a lot of work with helping families in transitions. And when I'm saying helping families in transitions, a lot of times what I do is help the person ease the person who is transitioning, who's dying, into this other space, and then to help the family kind of accept that, you know what, this is they're there now, right? And that can be a hard experience, but when you have people who are really, 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 really in deep spaces, and they're just to have some people who are just laying there. You have people in hospice and everything else, and they also want this to be a like a the best way I can say this is a dignified death. Um, and it's tough a lot of times because there are people, you know, who have been very known and up. They're known to be up. They're known to, you know, be very, very lively. And these are people who they get to the end, say, and with cancer specifically. These past 2 years have been cancer and COVID. Cancer and COVID. We've seen so much of, and just and as I'm saying that, one of our dear health workers, we called him King. Um, he was stage 4 cancer, and he made his transition during this work, and he was also one of those who would, I mean, constantly be, he's at the meetings and everything, he would, to literally to the end, he was like, it's work I still want to do. It's work I want to fulfill. It's things that I still want to do in the world. Fantastic and phenomenal musician and person, just person, you know. And we were literally in one of our community health worker meetings, and he ended up having a stroke while we were, while we were there. And and that's the other part about this kind of work in creating, yes, community health workers, but how do we create community amongst ourselves as health workers? And what does that mean for an organization to create community within community and everything else? And, and doing this work where we're really creating family and everything in that way. So anyway, just even, going onto another part, I'm getting kind of teary-eyed even thinking of King and thinking of this work, but also thinking of the babies, right? So I had people who within, is one child in particular that I'm thinking about, because this particular child, healthy baby, was born within a couple hours, the baby died, right? So the family called, and I called the funeral home. I called the funeral parlor, and she said the uh, Shalita, this is with Murray Henderson. So this is one funeral home that I called. I called. She said, Sunny. She said, before Katrina, Lord, COVID. She said before COVID, she said, we would only have to funeralize maybe 3 children, 3 little babies like this a year. Since COVID, they have had to funeralize 2 to 4 a month. That's just one funeral home. So what's coming up and what has been said is that they've been calling it SIDS, just saying it's SIDS. I said, it cannot be all of these children, all of these babies with SIDS, So that's something else. So that's another thing I'm looking to see, and I'm looking for just the research that'll come out of this time when we're talking about the effects of this time in particular on the health, because again, we're dealing with, this is all a part of maternal health, and what that looks like in a time of COVID as well, and what that looks like for all of these children. Like I said, this is just one funeral home, so I don't know what other funeral homes have experienced when it comes down to newborns and stillborns and things like this that have had to again be funeralized. I think that's a heavy number, and I don't know if we've heard enough, right, about it. So, but I want to go to this part. Was that our bell? I
No.
think it's been. I don't know.
No, somebody's computer.
Listen,
That was just
so let's go to this part. But it says the inequities that Black mothers face are not isolated incidents, but rather the byproduct, right, of systemic racism in our society that has festered for far too long. Who is that? Is that Is that Dr. Chris? She says racism. Is it racism, not race, is what's killing Black mothers?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So to root it out and improve health outcomes, we must address a broad range of areas where unequal access persists along racial lines. It's considering Louisiana now ranks what 50th in health outcomes. So that's another part, right? So anyway, it goes to including, we want to talk about healthcare, adequate nutrition, housing, toxin-free environments, high-paying job sectors that provide paid leave, and workplaces free from harassment and discrimination. I love this part here, and this is what I'm really getting to. That is why the American Rescue Plan gives states, now this is where it starts getting tricky, give states the opportunity to provide what it doesn't say.
It doesn't require.
There you go.
Opportunity.
That's what I'm getting.
You gotta read that language. Opportunity.
Give states the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to provide 12 months of extended postpartum coverage to pregnant people enrolled in Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program. It is also why I being Joe Biden, signed the Protecting Moms Who Served Act, part of the Black Maternal Health Momnibus Act that Vice President Harris introduced into the Senate to address the maternal challenges that women veterans face. It is why Vice President Harris hosted the first ever White House Maternal Day of Action Summit and announced a nationwide call to action to reduce maternal mortality and morbidity. So it's so much, and I think that maybe this is something that could be provided. I don't know if that's something Wood can in the fine print underneath.
Share, yes.
Yeah, can share whitehouse.gov.
Yeah.
Would say nope. I don't know what that nope is. See,
The
this
note
is
was for the note was for
the note was for the bed.
alarm.
Okay.
A little
I'm
bit.
making sure. I mean,
This is important because when you look at the work
yeah,
of the National Birth Equity Collaborative that they have been doing and sounding the alarm around this, to have the opportunity, right, to extend Medicaid to women. As I talked about before, typically you have a baby and then you get dropped right from the rolls every 30 days.
Right.
But it's in that interconceptional period that moms have the potential to get into trouble with their own health. Yeah. So it's something that we will, as community members, healthcare providers, supporters, and advocates for health, that we're going to need to fight for in our state, in saying you need to accept this the same way we did with Medicaid expansion, that you need to accept this on behalf of the mothers of Louisiana, particularly the Black mothers, because they deserve to have someone caring for them after this transformational experience, so that they can provide the best care for their children.
Absolutely.
When mothers die, we orphan that child.
Yes.
Right. And you set them on a trajectory, right, of not having that nurturing and support from their own mother. And we could spend a whole session talking about that.
Yes.
Right? What happens when you orphan hundreds of kids because of the preventable deaths that we see in Black mothers.
Yeah.
And
What happens
a big part of it is also going to be addressing the stigmas in our community.
Yes.
Because like we were discussing earlier, sometimes you do have access to things or you know about them, but it's such a stigma to even, I gotta get back to work.
Yeah.
Why? What's the, and then they the Beyonce song, Dare the Children, then get back to business. Beyonce don't have the same personality. I'm sorry. She has maids and nannies and
nannies upon nannies upon nannies.
So once you get into that, go ahead, go back to work or whatever, But we have to kind of bring it down into whatever your level is of the care that you specifically need, and quit worrying so much about what other people are doing or who got back to work after this amount of time, and really listen to your body and take the time that you need. Because let's say that we do push for this to go through, without these stigmas being erased, it's not it's not going to do any good. So that's why we have to really boots to the ground address it with the community. Like, let's really take this time. It's good. It doesn't mean that you're less of a parent or less of a woman.
Yes,
because you're not going back to work right away.
because you want to breastfeed your baby.
Yeah. Breastfeed your baby. I was talking about it with someone earlier, and she was like, "Oh, I sure hope y'all talk about breastfeeding when y'all do the call." And I said, "Okay, I'll plug it for you. Bring that up." I said, but one of the big things with breastfeeding is that there's nowhere to really do it, because it's not normalized as much as it should be. It's not
normalized, and people don't want you to bust it out.
Yeah, they don't.
When I did it, I would just
not to feed a child.
Yeah,
because it's sexualized.
It's nutrition they can get.
So now it's like you don't want. Do you want a blanket over your head when you eat?
No,
in the heat.
Yeah, no.
So the more we normalize it, the more we will have those areas and those things where it's okay to do it, and you don't feel weird for doing it, or people looking at you like you're doing something wrong because feeding your baby. Because listen, your body, if your baby is sick, your breast know. Yeah, it's gonna, alter what's in that milk, in order to feed the baby what it needs. So it's such a layered conversation, but we gotta really get in the community and do something about it.
We have to have the conversations, right? I talked earlier about, learning from my own network of sisters, right? Whether in my family, at church, at work, in Femme Fatale, the similarities and experiences we've had in the birthing journey, in the journey. I've, chuckled as you guys are talking about the breastfeeding in the stairs. I can remember being asked at church to leave the pew and go into the restroom. I said, "So you want me to leave my blessing? I came here for because I'm feeding my child. Let me find me another church. I ain't got but we haven't normalized, as you said, breastfeeding, and it is the best gift, right?
If you can do it,
if you can do it,
but we're not gonna judge.
That's right. And so, how do we start to normalize those spaces? And I know places like Ashé, have breastfeeding spaces for the community members to come into. But if you don't have access at your job to be able to do your breastfeeding or pumping,
a pumping station, like a gas station.
Right, to be able to continue if you have to go back to work, then it gives you so many barriers that people stop doing it. And it's so I also just wanted to say I so appreciate you both, Jamie and Monica, with your perspective as community health workers and doulas. You are the navigators for our community members, right? And all of us needs that, because I'm sitting here laughing like, so when did everybody want to start going back to work? Like, I wanted to stay at home as long as I could.
You would not believe it.
And I'm like, but that just goes to show you, right? If you aren't having those conversations all the time, then you don't understand some of the misinformation, right?
It's not even just work. It's just getting out, period. Just out. Like, it is so funny because it's like, you don't want to sound like your grandmother.
Your body needs
to open. What you doing outside? Like, you really have to give yourself, and that's what they've made it to, where you feel weird even saying stuff like, "Oh, you acting like an old lady," or whatever the case is. But you really have to give your body time to do things.
Well,
okay, go ahead, Sunny.
No, well, the other part, I really want to say that we don't. Okay, I have to always bring this aspect in.
Go ahead, bring it in,
because it really is. We don't realize the cultural genetic that's been passed down, and the residue that we are dealing with and living through, and why we feel like, oh, of course I can have a child and get back to work, or I need to get out. And so that's when we have to really start listening. Are we getting out really because you just have to get out. And so that means that could there very well be at this point some postpartum depression here? Could there be something that this is where I would, real listening and intuition and everything comes in? Is it because you just need, a break? Like, what is it? And really getting to listening to sometimes what people are not saying when it comes down to this kind, when it comes down to this kind of work. And again, going back to this aspect of the cultural genetic, we have, yes, the biology and what's in the blood, but we're talking now about what is in the culture that has been passed down from generation to generation to generation. When it goes to get back to work, get back to work, get back to work. And what does it mean? I gotta make money. I gotta make money. So we have this culture of getting. But see, this is when the grandmas come in and all that, and all that get understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it goes to, us really, and this is why, again, this aspect of wellness. I love when you said that. I had to write that down when you said, what is it? The wealth. Wait, I just wrote this down. Very simple, right? Because we look at wealth, of course, as being this aspect of wellness and health, and what brings this aspect of wealth, right? But when you just said very simply, don't take the health out of wealth. So when we look at not taking the health out of wealth, right now, what am I considering health? So most people are only looking at health, right? And they're only looking at it from this physical. Okay, are my eyes blinking? My ears hearing? Are we, am I breathing? Is it such and such? Or things like this. But we're talking about health in all of its forms. We're talking about physical health, spiritual, emotional, mental, and financial health. So what does that mean that we are healthy in this world? So I know that our aim, certainly as community health workers, is to normalize those kinds of conversations where we're not just looking at our physical health, but when we do look at our physical health, we're also able to see that I have a healthy relationship with how I'm responding to things in life, how I'm responding to disappointments and disagreements, how I'm responding to intolerant people, how I'm responding to, all of these kind of things that play a big part in going back again to this aspect of stress and wellness, and how when new things are added, new things, new people, new thoughts, there's shifts, there's some friction, there's a lot of things that can happen and go on because things are becoming anew. I think about this from, of course, I'm a poet, so I'm always going to look at something from the underneath when, when we're talking about this aspect of a seed, so when a seed is break, I don't know what a seed sounds like bursting through soil. I don't know that sound, right? I don't know if it, like, to the soil, is it like an explosion, right? I don't know that. But I know that something happens. I know that there's a breaking, right? I know that there is a rooting. I know that all of these kind of things, and these things play a part in how we are moving through life, right? Hakeem Adabudi was another one. He said, what is normal for us will never be normal to us as long as the abnormal defines what normality is. So as long as we are moving through, this life, thinking that the abnormal is the way to be and go. So it'll always seem like, oh yes, of course, now that's very strange. A birthing center in the East. What does that mean? Not a birthing center on the 5th floor of a house. Oh my God, what? You know what I'm saying? So these are things, and just even to introduce this aspect of what does it mean to have a doula here? What does it mean to look at birth as a revolutionary process? What does it mean to have art that's centered around maternal health? What does it mean to have art that's centered around financial health? What does it mean to have people who are coming in and are really just concerned about you valuing yourself and valuing life, when sometimes you may have never heard, yes, you are valued. And here you have people, you have doctors, you have nurses, you have other advocates, you have artists who are affirming and confirming your worth and your value. So this is truly like to go back to that word, a revolutionary kind of thing to say, especially, for you, Dr. Davis, as a doctor who has to, you got to move. You can't always get to, you can't be the one. You're not making house calls every day. So it's beautiful that you have expanded in such a way. And because, listen, we know where you come from. Okay, we know you,
right.
we know, good captain of the mystic crew of Femme Fatale, right? We know, these aspects too of where you come from. So this is why it's so important that we have one and some and many who are again rooting for people, and that's what is important. So Jamie, Monica, being community health workers in this way, truly rooting for people when they are literally out of their minds.
Oh yeah.
Out of their minds. And the fact that you can come to bring a smile, to bring a service, to really kind of navigate in this way. So that's why I'm important, and the beauty of that, in saying that, listen, as community health workers, we truly are bridges. And what does a bridge do? That's one thing I think about that with people who build bridges. I look at bridges and look at how big and tall these bridges are. I say, you cannot in any way, shape, or form have a fear when you are building a bridge.
Oh, yeah.
So it's the same way with how we are building these kind of bridges. How do we bridge? How do we bridge gaps from heart to heart? And that truly is what a community health worker is doing. We're saying, yes, it's with public service, public services and community members and everything else. But really, in all actuality, it's how am I building and consistently building this bridge from heart to heart, so that we can have people who are really seeing and feeling, not just seeing it, but feeling it with all of their being, that they truly do deserve affordable housing, that they truly do deserve affordable health care, that they truly do deserve fresh air, that they really do deserve fresh food, that they really do deserve sound mind and body, that they really do deserve to be around people who love them, people who honor them, that they deserve that kind of thing. So I'm just grateful that, you are, that we have just, I'm saying partnership, but it's not even just a partnership and collaboration. It really is, like we started out, truly co-creators, co-conspirators, co-movers, co-shakers.
I love the co-creator, co-conspirator, right?
Yeah. Listen, because I shook and shaked and everything else. We all did. Shook and shaked on that float for the Femme Fatale.
Oh yes, you did.
So look, I do want to say before because we're only gonna we're gonna close up, because we were supposed to be just a little bit of time, but I want to say, wait, Jamie, I'm sorry, you were getting ready to say something. I want you to say that, and then Monica, you just kind of. Well, I'll give you.
I have no clue what I was gonna say, but this may be my last little line, so I do want to make sure that everybody knows about birthright.
Yes, that was what we were getting to.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
you was right on time. Right on time.
About birthright. It's a cultural advocacy program that Ashé has. Right now, we're doing a couple of different initiatives. We're moving and shaking, in Sunni's words. Getting Black mothers in the New Orleans area to share their birthing stories through COVID. So just be looking out for that, and you can definitely go to the Ashé website to get more information on birthright. While we working with that, and then Monica was going to share something.
No, I was just going to say, and not to get into a quick sad story, but I had about birthright and why it's so important. About 15 years ago, I delivered a stillborn baby at 36 weeks, and I had never actually spoke out loud my story other than with my family, my husband. And 2 years ago, I was presented an opportunity to do a production. I actually dreamed about the production first, and it came to life. And I thank Dream Deferred for to being inspired by the story. But long story short, and leading into what we're about to present, I did this production and I didn't know what I was going to talk about. And my sister
Who
told me,
directed this production? I'm sorry.
Lauren
Turner
in India at the time, with No Dream
Look, I was
Deferred.
about to
And,
put you as the director. I'm sorry. See, this what happened. I don't
no, Jamie was the stage manager.
I was in
the
it
stage
as well.
manager. All right, we did well.
Jamie was the stage
stage
manager. I had a dream, literally a dream, one night, and I called Lauren and I said, I dreamed about this production. I saw a Black woman's face with pitch black in the back, and she said, the next day she texted me, she said, I'm gonna do the production and you're hired. Well, long story, I was freaking out. I didn't know what to share. I said, what am I gonna say? What am I gonna talk about? And my sister said, you know what? You've never told your birth story. She said, you've never talked about it. And you know what? You should really talk about the injustice of your birth story and what happened to you and and everything. So I was nervous about it. Jamie was like, just do it. And so I just got up there, I told it, and it was healing for me. It was healing for me to share with other sisters in a community, in a support system. And so things like Birthright, that this initiative is so important because a lot of mothers haven't told their story, and for it to be done artistically is a celebration of the mother and of the story, which is so important because Black women especially create sister circles and of love and support around each other, and it's so important. So I just wanted to share that, not for a sad story, but just to say that women need to feel free and safe enough to share these stories and know that they'll have the support after the birth, that they'll have, because that's part of the mental health crisis is that, so many women after they give birth, they don't have the love and support and someone to pay enough attention to their needs to know that someone needs to step in and help them and, with that process to get through that process of healing. I just wanted to share that, and I know we're about to go into sharing.
I'm so glad. Because I sure forgot. I was going to share anyway.
I will just say that the courage, right, of being able to come forward and share your story, right. I'm not only, as you said, was healing for you, but I'm sure gave many other sisters the courage. Right, their story and permission.
I hope so. I hope that's what it is.
Get the help that they need, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that might look like for each of them as an individual, to know that they don't have to shoulder that burden themselves.
Yes.
And talk about the stigmas associated with this birth journey, right? And that it's supposed to happen in steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And when it doesn't happen, how we like that. How we shoulder this burden, that there was something, that maybe we should have did differently rather than opening up for the help. So I applaud you for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I hope it does do that. That's what I did it. That's what gave me the courage, is that I was hoping that someone else would feel at liberty or feel safe enough to share their story and know that they'll have the love and support around them, and to feel just free and that weight lifted of sharing and not internalizing, that pain.
Because Black women, we have so much, Sunni touched on intuition. We have so much joy. We have so much wisdom, so much to offer.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you don't get to peel back those layers from the things that you've been taught to suppress, you don't get to get to those things. Exactly. And some people have happy stories.
Yeah.
Some people have wonderful birthing, stories. So it's even having the permission to feel like you can be happy about the way your birthing.
That's a good one.
Yes.
So it's not all traumatic.
Yeah. Because my nieces, I'm talking about, it was gorgeous. Like it was.
Yeah, I've had beautiful births too now. I've had that too.
So it's all of it. But just I think Black women knowing that we deserve it. We deserve it.
I deserve it. One of them people had a song.
Whatever that it is,
birthright. Yes, it's your birthright.
Yes, just to know
It's
that
your
we deserve
birthright.
your birthright.
Y'all all right. Let me tell you something. They talk about y'all online sometimes, but you know what? Y'all all right with me. I say I know all right. I text, but I type back. You know how they be on the whole website about y'all. I said, oh, that's my people. I know all of them. So no, I'm grateful that we could gather. So much that we can, of course, go into, but as organically as this came up, as the just the conversation went, I feel good about. I had some questions here, but I feel good about what just transpired here today. I'm grateful that we were able to again just come together in this way to speak about this. I do want a couple things. What is something, just even if it's nothing long, but what would you say for all mothers and families? What's one thing, if we could narrow it to one thing, the thing that is foremost in your mind, that comes up the most, that we can do to center joy in this process, to center joy? What's something that you would suggest that you, so if you could give your prescription, right, in your prescription, what would your prescription say? Do this and call me in the morning. What would that be? If for us to center joy in this way, what's something in order to center joy in your life? What would you prescribe? What would you prescribe for mothers and families to center that? What would be your prescription?
Listen to your intuition. Listen, trust your intuition. Trust your womanly, motherly intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Mamas are the leaders, and mamas make the family go around.
Hey,
Listen
motherly intuition. We
Listen
have
to
that.
your motherly intuition, your womanly intuition.
All right. What's yours, Jamie?
I would say to stay present. I think a lot of times people, I mean, it's good, the birthing process. You gonna have to think ahead, but bringing yourself back to the now, to the moment, what's happening. You're breathing. You can take a deep breath. All of the different privileges you have, moving your arms and your hands and grounding yourself, just staying present in the moment. Taking it moment to moment is a big one, I think.
Dr. Davis.
Yes, I would say to all of the mothers, and we're thinking about how do you center the joy, to plan your pregnancy journey like you're planning for the biggest party of your life.
You better come on.
As we have said, mothers make our families go around. Well, we are natural planners and nurturers, but when we think about how we would plan for the biggest celebration for ourselves, right? We're going to think about all of the beautiful things that we want to have. That's how we should plan for pregnancy. We shouldn't have the anxieties that are associated with it and the stressors, right? Because if we're planning for that 25th birthday or that 30th birthday, we're not worrying about how much it's going to cost. We're going to make a way, because we always make a way. We're not worrying about who's going to show up, because I'm going to be there.
Right.
Right. Because I'm going to be there. Whoever comes is going to be a blessing.
Yeah.
That's going to be there with us, right? And you will have the people around you that provide you love and support.
Yeah.
We have to start thinking about that transformation or revolution, as I have learned here today. I love that description of it, of our pregnancy journey as being one of the biggest celebrations we'll ever have.
Absolutely.
Love it.
That's good.
That's
good.
That's
that.
real
Can
good.
you imagine, Dr. Davis? What if your doctors got in there and wrote on those papers when somebody comes in?
On those papers.
They say, I've been suffering, Lord. I can't take it. It's over. I just don't do what I can do it. Then the doctor just flip out and get the pad and say, take 2 deep breaths. Trust your intuition. stay present and plan
this part.
That's pretty much what they
That's
said.
it. That's what the doula gonna say.
Right.
That's
Right.
Let me get you some tea.
That's what the doula.
Can you
gonna tell
imagine?
to do.
It's going to be a few things. Either they're going to think you have completely lost your mind, or they will be completely out of their mind and get into their right mind and say, I think I might give that a try.
Mhm.
And if they do, can you imagine how life-changing and life-giving that will be? Oh my God. I'm so grateful to just be on this call and have this conversation with each of you, and for everybody that will be out there listening to and participating and joining in. I think that's for all of us. That's a prescription for all of us to trust our intuitions, to stay present and breathe, and to plan, but to plan that goes back to what we were talking about, this aspect of expectancy. What do we expect? So this is for us to expect more joy, expect the celebration, expect more life,
it to be beautiful,
expect more love, expect it to be beautiful.
Better than you could ever think. Expect it to be better.
Yes. So I'm grateful for y'all. Happy, what is today? Happy
It's Thursday on the video. Happy Thursday.
That's right. Well, happy Thursday. Huh? Happy Monday.
Happy Black Maternal Health.
And happy Thursday when everybody gets to see this. So I'm grateful for this time travel that we are doing today. But most importantly, I'm just grateful for this work that y'all are doing in the world. And we're praying that it is just increased and expanded. I can't say that enough, but that our hearts are expanded, our creativity is expanded, and how we are experiencing and expressing life is even more. So just for a little lanyard, we have
production.
Say that again.
The same production that I was a part of, which was one woman, one show. We have this.
That's what this is.
Yes.
Go
the
ahead.
Same production that I was a part of. Okay, so the production that I spoke of that I was a part of, which was a group of Black women doing monologues, poems, and sharing stories about their experiences as a Black woman. This great, fantastic, wonderful poet, activist, so many different things she is.
Yeah, dear sister of mine, absolutely.
Yes.
Now look, I could talk about her. I might can't talk about the video, but I could talk about her.
Go ahead. Tell us about icons and give that proper introduction to this point.
Yeah.
That was a part of the same production.
Yeah. This is a part of the same production. Oh, that makes it even better. It
was one woman, one show, and ode to Breonna Taylor is what it was. And so
very good.
I kind of shared this poem as part of that production.
All right, twins. Y'all better go ahead and talk at the same time. Okay.
This our thing now.
Oh, that's right. So at any rate, peace, light, love, hope, joy, protection along this journey, and protection in doing this work. And let us see, where's Khan? Khan, where are you, Khan? Khan, where are you?
Black woman steps up to mic. Black woman has a poem. She has a poem gestating deep inside her belly. Can feel the painful pulse of contraction, her mouth fully dilated, but she's afraid to push. She's afraid to push the poem from her lips for fear that the crowd will call her baby ugly, say its cries are unworthy of being heard, or even worse, they will try to kill it. Because Black woman has become accustomed to having her babies slaughtered. Black woman has become accustomed to the same kind of death herself. Black woman feels like she should change her name from mother to martyr. Black woman is even afraid to call herself Black woman too many times in this here poem because she has been taught that she is too insignificant to be acknowledged. Black woman steps up to mic. But before she can speak a word, she already hears the crowd's thoughts. They all be like, shut up, bitch. Don't nobody want to hear another one of your Black woman poems. Girl, you can shout and roll your neck all you want. Besides, don't nobody hear your dog whistle of a voice. Besides other Black bitches, Black woman steps up to mic. prays that she gets it right, realize that in this world, her voice is usually the only darkness in a sea full of white. So she prays. She prays that telling her own story is stronger and more powerful than those who try to do it for her or to her. Because see, everybody wants a piece of Black woman, but Black woman can't even speak her own peace. Black woman tries to seek peace between the mic and the crowd, in what feels like light years of space, and light travels faster than sound. So Black woman realizes that they will see her before they ever truly hear her. Black woman steps up to mic, cognizant of how she appears, in front of a jury of an audience that probably don't see her as their peers, so she don't want to come off too woman, too Black. Black woman is taught that she don't hurt, that she don't feel a thing, that her melanin and estrogen cancel out the human in her DNA. Black woman is taught that her sorrow is a false alarm that goes off way too often, while white and male privilege gets the siren. It struggles all over the world stage. Black woman steps up to mic, feels the urge to push, but doesn't want to tear, doesn't want them to interpret weakness from her tears. She doesn't want to be called a crybaby. So she gently rocks her palm into the back of her throat and she whispers to it, "Shh, don't cry, baby." And I just want to tell her to yell. Wail like you want nothing more than to break the shell and have your baby be born. You shout out to them about how you survived it all. I'm talking about the rape, the racism, the ravaging of your body for the sake of beauty. You tuck your chin into your chest and you push, girl. You push like you deserve to be heard. You push like you deserve to be here. You push like you have a savior to deliver to this world. Black woman, when you step up to this world's mic, you better open your mouth and speak.